What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back. This is the Deep Corner, episode 14. I'm Rob St. Clair, and I'm joined today from Team Pineapple, a new addition, Mr. Evan Gebert. Welcome to the show.
Hi there, Rob.
Thanks for hopping on with me, buddy. I know it's a weird time for everyone. Everyone's stuck at home. You in particular, I wanted to get on because you just finished your senior season in college, and actually, you probably would still be playing if it weren't for the quarantine and the cancellations. I want to talk about that a lot more later. But like, where would you have been if you in your season today if it were still going on?
It's the 12th, so I think we would have been getting ready to play in the national tournament if we would have taken conference home, which we were first in conference, so it was looking to be that way. So probably national tournament around that time.
Yeah, I can't even start to think about how much it would be just the worst to have your career cut short like that. But I want to talk about that a little bit later. Let's kind of start from the beginning in your volleyball life. You are the son of Lauren Gebert, a bit of a volleyball legend.
hmm
It's in the Fort Wayne area, the longtime Team Pineapple guy, named a lot of people will recognize. So you were kind of surrounded by the game of volleyball from the beginning, I assume. But when was the first time you realized that you really wanted to play and it was something that you wanted to do instead of something that you were just kind of expected to do because of your family?
When I kind of made it my choice, I think I was in middle school and I had just seen my dad in a tournament. Like it was one of his later tournaments, so he wasn't jumping as high and hitting as hard as he could, but he was still looking pretty good, and I was just watching my younger self, and I think I finally kind of soaked in that this is what I want to do. Like this sport is amazing. It's very intricate and complex and fast paced, and I think it was just one little moment when I was watching my dad play. It was kind of clicked, and I knew.
I'm sure there are several. Is there one thing in particular that sticks out in your mind that you've learned from your dad about volleyball across the years?
Mm, Probably passing, staying low during passing. Just like everyone says that my dad was one of the best passers they've seen, and that I've gotten those skills from him. And I think passing is definitely one of those things that's just been grinded into my head just from day one.
Well, that's a pretty good foundation to be built upon.
Yeah.
Every volleyball player in the world could benefit from a little bit of the Gebert recipe for passing, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
So you're growing up in Northeast Indiana, and like I talked to Loy about in my very first interview, it's not like a powerhouse area for volleyball by any means, especially on the boys' side, at least for like high school and club and stuff. But IPFW exists, and there's a big volleyball culture in the area. How did you like go about pursuing a college career in volleyball in an area that isn't like a powerhouse volleyball community?
Yeah, I mean it was really weird because we didn't have high school volleyball like for 2 hours around me. Like the nearest school was 2 hours away. But I think when I was younger, I went to my dad. We started the club is when I figured out I wanted to play. We started our own club called the Team Pineapple. We off Loy. Um, we would just play in tournaments, and the way I got my name out there is basically I think through like my dad's connections and the connections that he had made when he was younger. He knows a lot of coaches from a lot of different schools, so I asked him, and he kind of pointed me in the right direction to give me some programs that he think would be a good fit for me.
Yeah, so right out of high school, you ended up going to Lourdes, Division One or Division Two, that plays in D1 near Chicago. You only stuck around there for a year. I think you
hmm
redshirted right before you transferred.
hmm
What's something that you learned in that first year of redshirting, like the making the jump to the college level? That's a big difference.
It is. It is, especially coming from like not a lot of volleyball in Northeast Indiana. Like there's not a huge sample size for like good talent out here, and going from that to Lewis, which is a really really good team, like it was a big jump, and it kind of made me nervous, and I was scared for a little bit. But I think in the long run, it it was good for me. It helped me like figure out what I needed to hone on and focus on, and how I needed to get better. So.
What position were you recruited to play? Which pin or both?
Well, I was recruited like to play like outside, I think, but during the course of the year, he kind of transitioned me to a libero.
Okay,
Yeah,
and
and I
then
trained that for most of the year.
And then once you transferred to Lourdes in the NAIA, that's not even close to where you
Mhm.
ended up being, right?
Yeah, no. I played outside for a first year, and then I played, I think, right side for the next 2 or 3 years.
So
A little
tell
bit of mix.
tell me about Lords. Tell me about kind of the NAIA level in general. There's a lot of people that might not know a lot of details of that particular program and just kind of how the league works on a national and regional scale. So
Mhm.
lay it out for the people a little bit what the NAIA is kind of like.
So it's different from the NCAA. It doesn't have like it still has three divisions. It has like D1, D2, D3 still in the NAIA, but you only really hear about schools who are in the D1 bracket of that. But when it comes to like competition and skill level, the NAIA is not. I don't think it's nearly like on average. It's not near the NCAA, but when you get to like the top five, top 10 teams, like those teams can start to beat some of the NCAA teams. They're pretty good. They got some pretty good kids, and but then when you get down to the bottom level, it's more of a what you call it disparity. Like there's a huge rift
Yeah.
between like the highest level and the lowest level. Like so it's hard to get past that sometimes. Like you can play a really bad team and you let your energy get low and you blah blah blah. But in the NCAA, it's a little less likely to happen. I feel like.
That's true, and I think that especially in the conference that Lords played in,
Yeah.
it was probably common to find a match where you could just kind of sleepwalk your way through it, right?
Yeah. We had a lot of matches where all the starters would come out and we'd put in all the subs just so that like they can get reps, they can get playing time. Like it's just we had a lot of those teams that you're right. Like we could sleep through, we could shut our eyes and kind of walk over them a little bit.
Well, I mean that's not the worst thing in the world, but it can be a little bit difficult once it comes time to play against really good competition if you haven't had experience to really push your starting lineup to that competitive level. How did you guys stay sharp enough throughout matches of several different like qualities of play throughout the year? But when it came time to win conference or contend at nationals, how did you guys keep your level high?
Well, one thing that our coach did, that Greg did, that we appreciated is he would schedule in for our team to play these NCAA, these D1, D2 teams. So we'd still get to see like this really good competition. And instead of scheduling like those out of conference, like not very good, not very high skill level games, he would schedule us D1 teams, and we got to play like Quincy, Lindenwood, McKendree. We got to play some D1 teams, and we got to see some good competition. So it helped us out in the long run. It helps us stay prepared for the end of the season.
Yeah, and that's a really positive thing that your coach did for you guys. Like you mentioned, that's a when you know you have a team that's at the probably the top levels of the NAIA, you're easily probably top five. But you know you're going to have kind of a lazy regular season. It makes a lot of sense for championship preparedness to throw you guys against some of the big boys in the preseason.
Exactly.
I bet that was awesome. Uh,
Yeah, it was fun.
First of all, tell people about the school. Tell people about Lords. Where is it? How big is it? Like what was the draw for you to Lords in particular? Coming out of Lewis as you transferred.
Well, it was one thing. It was how far it was. It's in Toledo, Ohio. It's about an hour and a half from where I live, and it's like the drive. I didn't want a school to be too far to where I couldn't see my parents or my family that often, but I didn't want it to be so close that I felt like I lived there still. Like I wanted my independence, but I wanted to be able to see them. So it was a perfect distance. The living situation was there. The living situation there was great. Apartments. Um, Greg offered me a pretty good scholarship to come play, and like I said earlier, my dad he knows a lot of coaches. He's got a lot of connections, and he's pretty good friends with Greg, and he pointed me towards him, and we started chatting, and he was a pretty persuasive guy. So
Well, it worked out pretty well for you guys. You won your regular season conference last year or the year before, right? I can't remember
yeah.
how many times did you win regular season?
Well, since I've been there three, but since the program's been going on, I think he's won it 7 out of 8 times.
Wow.
Yeah, he's won it a lot.
That's yeah, that's impressive no matter what league you're playing in to have that level of consistency.
Mm-hmm. Coach of the year several times. He's a great coach. I mean, going to Lourdes was great, and it would have pushed me to be a good volleyball player. But going to Lourdes is still nice. Still
Yeah.
good coach, still good guys, still a great program.
So you talked about the different positions that you played. You were probably hitting left side a lot as you were growing up. You played a little bit of libero at Lewis because everyone's 6'9" or whatever, and
Yeah.
then you come to Lords. You play a little bit of left side, and then you move to the right. That's a lot of position switching.
Hmm.
How does your mindset change when when your coach tells you, okay, this year you're switching positions, you're moving to the right side or whatever, or this year you're a left side? Does it change anything for you and how you approach the game?
Um, I'd say a little bit because the role that you play on the court in each position will vary slightly. So like when it comes to being a right side, I'll definitely think more offensively and try and get a lot more hitting, but like stuff like that. But I'll also think more defensively and like trying to play defense down the line and cross court and everything. But and obviously when I play libero, but when it comes to playing outside, it's more of like a general sense, more of an all-around game. Is how I can just be the best I can overall. But when it comes to right side, it's definitely more like hitting heavy, swinging heavy, like offense oriented.
Yeah, that I'm fascinated by people who are able to play both pins because I think they're really, really different. And especially, well, there's kind of only one real way to play opposite at the highest levels, and that's just hit the hell out of the ball all the time. But
Yeah.
and just score points. But there are lots of different styles of outside hitters, and there are the people that make the move from the right side to the left or the other way around. I think it's cool to see those styles bleed through from pin to pin, and then people who also make the switch from libero to outside or the other way around. But you've done both,
Yeah.
which is really interesting.
It's very weird. Yeah.
So if the outside position is in the middle, libero's on one side and opposite is on the other, what things do you take from each to your outside hitter game?
Well, obviously, I'll probably have to take like passing and everything from libero to the outside. Like outside is definitely more low to the ground ball control. I think outside is more of a volleyball player than a position. Um, but yeah, when it comes to being an outside, I take from libero like passing and defense and staying low and just being quick and ready to read the ball. But when it comes to playing right side, I mean, all I can really take from being a libero is just defense, just staying low down the line and being ready to kind of just take anything off the hands, like just yeah.
So you had a very good college career like we talked about, and you're the first person I've had on the show so far who was a senior this year, whose college career got cut short because of all the cancellations of the virus. I first want to talk about, or just want to say how sorry I am for you about all that. It's just so unlucky and unfortunate and unfair that you and all your team and all your classmates on your team and nationwide and every sport got their seasons and in many cases careers cut short that way. And I really feel bad for all you guys. But now you've been home after the season got cut short for several weeks. You've had some time to kind of process everything as abruptly and as unfairly as it ended. Can you kind of put your career in perspective after this very, very unique set of circumstances?
Yeah, so it does suck having like the last victory lap kind of get cut short. But like it's not as devastating to me as it might be to other people just because of my future of what I have laid out ahead of me. I applied to a graduate school, and there's a possibility of me playing my extra year that we just received. I might be playing another year at McKendree, and then get my master's there and playing for a couple of years. And then after that, it's always been my dream to go overseas and play professionally. And if I can do that after grad school and still make it over there and play ball with the big boys, that'd be amazing.
That's a nice perspective. It's great that you do have the path kind of laid out for you. You have still a lot more volleyball to play in your career, which is really cool. And a lot of that we'll be finally seeing another Gebert in a Team Pineapple jersey this year.
Hell yeah.
So you've been around that team for literally your entire life. Your dad's been playing with Team Pineapple since its existence on the adult level. You've got the Team Pineapple quarter zip there, I see.
Mhm.
Uh, what's it going to be like to finally put on a green jersey and play for Team Pineapple after all these years of just being around?
Yeah, like it's gonna be nuts. Like I've played with them before in like tournaments like the Low Classic and stuff like that, but never like at this level. Never like for this amount of pressure. Like it's gonna be new. It's gonna be different. But I'm really really excited to do it, and I'm even more excited to have my dad by my side when I do it.
Yeah, that's going to be so cool. Like I talked to you a little bit earlier. Maybe down the road, once we kick off the season, I want to get you and your dad on the show at the same time. I think that would be wild.
Yeah, that'd be a little fun.
It would. Uh, Loy and everyone who has been on the show from TP and everybody who's even seen the team play over the past several years and on every level that Team Pineapple has played at knows kind of about the family culture that Loy and your dad and Will have created. In your case, that family tie is very literal. You have a lot of actual blood family in the Team Pineapple program, but even for just the culture they've created that feels like a family. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, it's insane. Like every like that feeling you have like towards a sibling where you're like, oh, you're so annoying, but like I love you to death. Like I'm gonna hug you, but I'm gonna push you away at the same time. It's kind of like the same thing because they give each other they give each other crap and they they just love each other. It may not seem like it, but it's definitely a family environment. And ever since I was little, it's been great being brought up in that. Like they raised me as like I had all these other uncles and brothers, and like it was amazing. Like they're very very caring. They're a good group of guys.
And how do you think that translates onto the volleyball court?
I think when you have that much care and respect for somebody who's next to you, it also gives you a lot of trust with them too. Like you know that they're going to do their job if you do yours, and if everyone does what they're supposed to, it's all going to come together. It's all going to work out. It's all going to be good. So I think creating that family environment really just puts the team at just a whole new level of trust. Like they can just perform better just because of that bond they have.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think it's apparent when you watch Team Pineapple play. I've watched them play a bunch over the past several years, and I think when it's like 22-22 or it's 24-24, I think that's when that matters. That connection, that bond matters the most. Do you agree with that?
Oh yeah, they love to play under pressure. Definitely a pressure team.
So, what position are you going to play for them? Both pins? Just one of them? Do you have any idea?
I have no idea. Whatever the coach says, whatever Loy says. So, I mean, I'm okay with playing whatever. There's some pretty good right sides on the team this year though, so it got to be a little bit of competition. But it's been a while since I've been on the left pin, and I actually been wanting to get back to it. I want to start passing and get back into that rhythm. So we'll see.
Cool. Well, once we're able to get back in the gym, I'm sure there will be no shortage of chances for you to get some passing reps, huh?
Oh, definitely.
So all the TP guys like Loy, like your dad, like Will, like Jorge, like Jeff, the guys that have carried TP over the past 5+ however many years to all the success that team has had, none of those guys are getting any younger. Let's be serious.
No.
The volume of volleyball that their bodies can now handle is getting less and less every year, and with the way TP's roster is, we're kind of seeing a little bit of a youth movement lately. What is it like for you to be a part of that, to kind of be the next generation of Team Pineapple players in a sense?
I mean, literally, like the next generation of
yeah,
players.
In your case, very literally, yeah.
Yeah, and it feels good. I mean, it was great to watch all these legends play and perform. Like, it was having the opportunity to see these guys do what they did at the level they did for this many years was a blessing. But like you said, it's kind of our time now, and we liked watching them play. We loved watching them play, but now it's like they're kind of carrying or handing us the torch, and it's like that ceremonial handing of the torch. And I think it's kind of amping up the younger guys a little bit and giving them a little more fire. So it's getting us really ready for the season, I think.
Good. Yeah, well, we all can't wait to see you guys out there. Everybody right now is craving sports and craving volleyball and craving content. I know
For
I
sure.
definitely am. I desperately need to get back in the gym and play a little bit. I'm sure we're all kind of on the same page about that. Uh,
It's unbearable.
yeah, right. Um, in kind of like a volleyball style sense, the what's going to be the blend of the old man veteran wily sort of game and the young gun explosive sort of game for TP, because it's sometimes hard to blend those styles. Can you kind of picture that yet?
Not really off the top of my head. I still need a little more time in the gym with some of these guys because like the younger guys, I haven't even met some of them. I still need to, you know, I need to create that bond, that TP bond with them still. So it's gonna take some time.
Well, that's all right. Once we're able to get back out of the house, that's going to happen quickly with every touch of the ball, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
So one other thing that you've done in your volleyball career that's really, really cool that I wanted to talk about is you were on a team that won Men's Open at Wapaka boat ride last year,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
which is maybe my favorite day or weekend of the entire year. For people that don't know what that event is, what even is Wapaka? And then we'll talk about your team and your tournament that you played.
Wallpack is one of the greatest tournaments ever. It's I look forward to it every year. Well, almost every year besides this one. But it's just 3 4 days of hanging out in the sun, hanging out with your best friends, playing the best sport on earth, and it's amazing. Like I love going there. It's triples grass, doubles beach, like fours beach, four or not fours beach, fours grass. They got everything, like something for everybody. They have youth and people just play day after day and just hang out and have fun. It's one of the greatest tournaments I've ever played in. Yeah.
It's an absolute blast. People come in from nationwide, in some cases internationally, to this farm in the middle of nowhere in Wisconsin, and it's just 3+ days of absolutely nonstop volleyball. It's just the best, and kind of the culmination of all that is the Saturday triples tournaments. Grass 3-on-3 is a format that's really fascinating to me. It's something that I've really fallen in love with over the past couple of years. Uh, and you were on a team that played in the highest division of Men's Open and ended up winning the entire thing. Um, Tell me about your team, who your three teammates were, how you guys kind of handled switching people around all day long, and what it was like playing in front of that crowd at the very end.
Well, so the team we played on, it was actually a lot of TP guys. It was me, Kyle Ratty, and Omar, and then Felix Chapman, who was another NAIA guy who played at Grandview University. Felix Chapman, he's nuts. He's six
Absolute
nine,
monster.
just bounce. He's crazy. But yeah, those were the guys we had. Omar and Ratty actually asked me to play, and then Omar told me, he's like, "Yeah, I have this other guy named Felix." He's like, "I don't know if you know him, but he's on the team now." And I was like, "Oh, gee." I was like, "This tournament's in the bag
Oh
almost."
yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome. But the way we kind of like, I only played. I think we played 8 or 9 sets total or matches the whole day, and I think I played like 3 or 4 out of them, and I played earlier. But just having Ratty and Felix, and then Omar being able to dish to both of them, like it was good. Like I played earlier, saved those guys some energy, and kind of let them carry the torch through the rest of the day.
Yeah, that's nice. You guys had a pretty nice formula for success there, and when in doubt, throw the ball up to the sun and let Felix go up and grab that thing.
Exactly, man. He'll put it in the ground no matter what. He's ridiculous.
He is ridiculous. Uh, Tell me about grass 3-on-3 a little bit. I think it's a great mix of outdoor and indoor, but it's way more dynamic than sand because you have three people. You're moving
Mhm.
around on the grass, so it's not as like slow and vertically challenging as sand. And your setter actually has options. You have a designated setter and you have two possible hitters. I think the game can move a lot faster that way. What position do you typically play in grass? And tell the people kind of how the game works and what skill sets you need and how it's kind of different from indoor.
So when I play grass, I usually play on the left side, just because it's kind of a main passer position. But I mean, it's like you said, it's really fast and it's like low to the ground and dynamic. But It's honestly, to me, it's not too much different than beach, except I think people just swing a lot more and a lot harder just because that they have a lower net and it kind of sags a little bit, so people can really put a lot more power on the ball, like with a lot less chance for error. So people just swing away. I think it's a lot more heavy hitting than beach. I think people are a lot more offensive. So like, and it's a little bit harder. Like you have a permanent blocker, you have a consistent blocker, but like you said, there's options. You have to read block, and then you still have to play defense around that as well. So
Yeah.
it's similar to beach in like certain aspects, but there are definitely areas where it's unique.
So there are definitely styles of grass teams. For the
Mhm.
Baumgrins are the most extreme on the one end. They're like
Yeah.
AVP caliber sand players who totally play grass in a very beach sort of style where they,
Mhm.
will take all the time in the world. They'll set high balls. They'll look at the block.
Mhm.
They'll hit the right shot. And then there are people who play it just like it's indoor and they're flinging the ball out to the pins with some tempo. Offensively,
Mhm.
they're just kind of ripping all the time. They're hitting gigantic jump serves. Uh, and I think it's kind of similar in the indoor game because of how regional it can be. And I've talked about that before with
Mhm.
some people, like the kind of Midwest or East Coast versus West Coast kind of style of the game.
Mhm.
Um, but when you were playing at Wapaka this past year, what did you notice about those styles, and which one kind of were you guys?
Oh, like you said, like the Baumgrens, like they were like kind of higher, like traditional beach players, like going for the shots. But I think I think what we were was like that more tempo. Like we had like a high level indoor setter and we had a high level indoor pin, and we were just kind of connecting the two and just running that tempo and using that raw power and taking people over.
That's yeah, as a more natural indoor player, I think that one's a lot more fun, at least for me to play.
Yeah, definitely.
So before we get you out of here, Evan, while we're all I don't know shut in here, mostly doing nothing until we can play volleyball again. What are you really looking forward to most about this season? And then where can the people follow you?
Oh, what am I looking forward to most? Probably, I mean, probably building that TP bond, traveling and playing volleyball, and having a lot less responsibilities than I did when I was in school. So it's gonna be awesome.
That's great. Where can the people follow along with you?
Oh, sorry. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, and that's about it. Those are the only two I use right now.
All right, cool. His Instagram's on the screen. I'll put it in the description for
Yeah.
those of you listening on the audio platforms. So yeah, that's about all I got for Evan today. We'll get you and your dad on here sooner or later in the season. I think that'd be a great episode.
For sure, for sure.
All right. Thanks for calling in, Evan. Thanks everyone else for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, man.